Good afternoon, students. So in the previous session we have already discussed about the contact force and non-contact force. In that we have discussed magnetic force, electrostatic force, and now we will discuss gravitational force. You know that a coin or a pen falls to the ground when it slips off your hand. Leaves and fruits also fall to the ground when they get detached from the plant. Have you ever wondered why it is so? Means whenever you throw anything in the upsides, it will come down. What is the reason behind this? So when the coin is held in your hand, it is at rest. As soon as it is released, it begins to move downwards. It is clear that the state of motion of the coin undergoes a change. Can this happen without a force acting on it? Which is this force? So objects or things fall towards the earth because it pulls them, and this force is called the force of gravity or just gravity. This is an attractive force, and the force of gravity acts on all objects. The force of gravity acts on all of us all the time without our being aware of it. Water begins to flow towards the ground as soon as we open a tap. Water in rivers flows downward due to the force of gravity. So gravity is not a property of the earth alone. In fact, every object in the universe, whether small or large, exerts a force on every other object, and this force is known as the gravitational force. Next topic is pressure. So you have learned in class 7 that strong winds during a storm or a cyclone can blow away even the rooftops. You also learned that winds and cyclones are caused by the difference in the air pressure. Is there any relation between pressure and force? Let us find out. Try to push a nail into a wooden plank by its head. Did you succeed? Now try to push the nail by the pointed end. Could you do it this time? Yes. What is the reason behind this? Try cutting vegetables with a blunt knife and then with a sharp knife. Which is easier? Do you get the feeling that the area over which the force is applied, for example, the pointed end on the nail, plays a role in making this task easier? So the force acting on a unit area of a surface is called pressure. If you have a pointed area, means the contact area is very less, that time you can apply more force, you can apply more pressure. But if the contact area is large, that time you have to apply more force, you have to apply more pressure. So the force acting on a unit area of a surface is called pressure, and the unit is force per area on which it acts. So at this stage we consider only those forces which act perpendicular to the surface on which the pressure is to be computed. So now you should understand that why porters place a round piece of cloth on their heads when they have to carry heavy loads. By doing this, they increase the area of contact to the load with their head. So the pressure on their head is reduced and they find it easier to carry the load. Same way, if you observe in the village, the ladies in that particular village will carry the matka on their head, and below the matka they are keeping the cloth pieces so that the contact area will more, so the pressure of that or the weight of that matka will be reduced and they can carry the water easily. So that we have observed in the villages. Note that the area is in the denominator is in the above expression. So the smaller the area, larger the pressure on a surface for the same force. The area of the pointed end of the nail is much smaller than that of its head. The same force therefore produces a pressure sufficient to push the pointed end of the nail into the wooden plank. Okay, so why shoulder bags are provided with broad strips and not thin strips, so the weight of the bags will be reduced. Why the tools meant for cutting and pressing always have sharp edges, so that it is very easy to cut the vegetables. Do liquids and gases also exert pressure? Does it also depend on the area on which the force acts? Let's see. For that we have to do this activity that you can also do by yourself. Take a transparent glass tube or a plastic pipe. The length of the pipe tube should be about 25 cm and its diameter should be 5 to 7.5 cm. Also take a piece of thin sheet of a good quality rubber, say a rubber balloon. Stretch the rubber sheet tightly over one end of the pipe. Shortly I will explain you now what you have to do. You have to just pour the water in this pipe and see what happens. So slowly the balloon will blow, but it depends on the height of the water which is in the pipe. So what we can say, pressure exerted by water at the bottom of the container depends on the height of its column. If you increase the height of water in the pipe, same way the pressure will increase, and due to the increase in pressure, that water will flow down in the balloon and balloon will blow. Next activity, let's understand. You have to take a water bottle, plastic water bottle, and at the one end there is a hole. There you have to keep the balloon now. Now let's see what happens. Take a plastic bottle. You can take a discarded water or soft drinks bottle. Fix a cylindrical glass tube a few centimeters long near its bottom. As shown in the figure, you can do so by slightly hitting one end of the glass tube and then quickly inserting it near the bottom of the bottle. Make sure that the water does not leak from the joint. If there is any leakage, seal it with molten wax. Cover the mouth of the glass tube with a thin rubber sheet as you did in activity. Now fill the bottle up to half with water. What do you observe? Why does the rubber sheet fixed to the glass tube bulge this time? Pour some more water in the bottle. Is there any change in the bulge of the rubber sheet? Note that the rubber sheet has been fixed on the side of the container and not at the bottom. Does the bulging of the rubber sheet in this case indicate that water exerts pressure on the sides of the container as well? Of course, yes. If you see the next activity, that is also